Jötunn lies deep in Iceland's rugged landscape, set in a wild, untouched valley that feels a world away from everything else. A fast, icy blue river runs straight through the heart of the track, shaping the terrain and adding a raw, unpredictable edge to every lap. High above it all, the ruins of an old house rest on a hilltop, while wild sheep roam freely across the hillsides, unfazed by the sound of engines. From the middle of the valley, the view opens up to snow-capped mountains lining the horizon. And just like the landscape, the weather refuses to sit still. Clear skies can vanish in minutes, replaced by a dense mist that rolls in and transforms the entire course. Welcome to one of the most scenic tracks in all of MX Bikes. This one is set in a stunning Icelandic landscape, and right away you will notice the dramatic environment, the lush hills, the river, and the horizon that actually makes you feel like you're deep in the Nordic wilderness. Now, the magic of how this track actually rides is the double height map, which is something that I don't think I have seen before, or something that I guess maybe I didn't know about before, but it's a bit of a magic trick here with the track creators. And so the ruts look a little gnarly, of course. It looks like a very, very rough national track, but the ride is really smooth, and that's the magic of the double height map, is that there's two layers of the surface. And so on the top layer you have the visuals that look really rough and they look really gnarly, but there's actually no collisions to them. Then you have the actual height map that you're riding on underneath that, which is a little bit smoother, so you get that national realistic rough feel without the crazy sort of MX Bikes physics that can come up like when you're playing a national ARL track. Now, as you carve through, you pass the river cutting through the middle of the map. It adds to the ambiance so much and to the challenge. You can tell that throughout the lap there's rain ruts around, streams, and it makes the track honestly feel alive, almost like it was shaped by nature. As you're riding around and doing your laps, of course, look around. The scenic views are literally almost distracting as you're hitting big jumps, railing the ruts around the track. They're almost distracting in the best way. It's like a visual treat every lap that you're doing on this track, so you gotta lean back and you gotta soak it in, because Ichi absolutely killed it with this track creation. Something else that's very interesting about this track and that you don't see very often is that the lap times are super long. Now, I'm on a KTM 250 here, and my lap times are clocking in just below 3 minutes. So keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're on a 450, you might gain some time there. But this is a track that I think you can spend some time learning. But it's not frustrating to learn. It's super fun to learn. But it's just so long, and we're not used to that. I think it takes some time to really memorize where you're at in the track and what you're doing. And speaking of memorizing the lines, there are plenty of different lines. I am going to try and take different lines each lap of this track that I do. We're going to be doing 3 laps today, but there's a different approach to each corner and section around the lap, making every lap fresh if you want it to be. And now there are also 3 weather versions to this map. That first lap that I did was under sunny skies, kind of the standard experience, and in the second lap we hit sunset, which completely changes the vibe. And on the third lap we will switch over to the foggy, rainy condition, which Ichi actually says is his favorite vibe. Me personally, I think that this sunset condition is my all-time favorite. The sunset vibe literally feels like it's straight out of a movie. It's so cinematic that you'll be doing a lap, hitting a jump, railing the ruts, and you'll just like get this itch to go into replay mode and snap some photos, line up the perfect shot, and just like turn it into your screensaver desktop wallpaper on your computer. Yeah, it's just cool that it's the type of vibe that sparks creativity to make you want to literally like stop mid-lap. And I think that that is just so sick that Ichi has put the time in to create something like this in the game. I've said it over and over before in my free track videos that I really think that this game is driven by our track creators, and we have some amazing track creators in the community, and Ichi is no different. I've heard it mentioned before, but these track creators aren't getting paid by anybody in MX Bikes. It's not like Paboso is literally even prevalent at all in this game. He kind of created it and just hung it out to dry for the most part, and everything is community driven. So these track creators that put hours and hours, I mean, I can only imagine how long this track took Ichi to create, much less all the different weather conditions. I mean, over 100 hours, I'm sure, like without a doubt. And so that type of commitment and just I don't know, passion for creating these like works of art. And this is a work of art. Literally, like I said, it's one of the most scenic tracks I think I've ever seen in this game. It is just like insane to think about for me, and we are just so lucky to have track creators like this in the MX Bikes community. So you guys better be getting your cameras out, and I want to see the gnarliest snaps on the gram. I mean, this track, you've got no excuse now. I better see some absolute bangers being posted because, whew, this track is just insane looking. Now, as we switch over to the rainy version of this track, I think it transforms this track's personality entirely. Obviously, with the rain comes the reduced traction, so on like the high-speed corners and some of the bigger jumps, especially on this 250, you'll notice that you're definitely going a little slower, and you've got to be a little bit more mindful of keeping her steady so that you can, you know, clear the jumps and not crash. And I think that especially with a track like this that is this long, it kind of almost feels like you're like trying to master and learn a completely different track. Obviously with rain conditions, it almost always feels like that, but I think with this track, it's like not a frustrating sort of condition with the rain. Like the ruts still hold you perfectly well enough that you can, you know, keep it pretty wide open and not have to worry about it too much, but it just adds that little bit extra layer of like, okay, I've really got to be on my P's and Q's and hit the lines and not, you know, get too sketchy. But yeah, I think the main thing of this rainy version is just almost like it's like an emotional shift because you're obviously in this crazy scenic landscape, but now everything is, you know, shrouded. You can see, you know, Ichi did a great job with making the mountains in the background really foggy too. So you really get that vibe of like, oh, I'm like isolated out here. And yeah, I just think it's so cool. I understand why this was his favorite version of the weather. It definitely is a completely different feel, and it's super awesome. So yeah, guys, as we finish out this lap, again, this is Jötunn by Ichi. It is available on mxbikeshop.com for $2, and in my opinion, best $2 you could spend in this game. This dude, you can tell, really put his heart and soul into this track and this work of art, and I really think that this is going to be a track that the MX Bikes community is playing on and remembers and is using for photos for a very long time. So big shout out to Ichi. Thank you so much for sending me the track. I can't wait to see what he comes up with next. This is 2 bangers in a row. We had Lighthouse, now we have this, so who knows what he's going to come up with next. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. But that is going to do it for us here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.